Okay, so today we're going to dive deep into modular operating theaters.
And even modular hospitals.
Yeah, exactly. Modular hospitals, we're always fascinated by innovations
Oh,
that
yeah.
have the potential to really change things up,
Especially in healthcare.
and especially in healthcare. Yeah, and this feels like one of those,
It really does.
where it's like, wow, this could really change
How we think about
how we think about healthcare infrastructure, how it's built, how it functions,
and how it's delivered.
and how it's delivered. Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a lot of great material for this deep dive.
Yeah, we do.
You've gathered some really interesting articles.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at architectural innovations, and then some very insightful blog posts.
Yeah.
And even a fascinating case study.
Yeah, the case study on
those hospitals that were built
so quickly during the pandemic. Yeah, that was amazing.
Absolutely.
I think our goal today should be to
Yeah.
really try and break down
Yeah.
the advantages and disadvantages, the core advantages and disadvantages of the modular approach.
Right.
So that people come away from this
With
a very clear understanding.
solid.
Yeah, a solid understanding of
What it offers.
yeah, what it offers, where the challenges are.
What the challenges are.
Yeah, so before we get into all of that,
Okay.
what exactly are we talking about
Yeah, good question.
when we say modular operating theater or modular hospital?
Right, because it's kind of
That's kind of
the new way of thinking about things.
new concept. Yeah, so essentially it's about prefabricated units.
Yep.
And think of these units as being constructed off-site in like a factory setting.
Right.
And then transported to the hospital site
Right.
and assembled there.
And so they're not just basic shells. They're
They're not just basic shells. No, these are
very sophisticated.
yeah, for operating theaters.
Yeah.
We're talking about sophisticated units designed to meet
International sterility standards.
yeah, stringent international sterility standards and equipped with everything.
Like what?
From the necessary electrical infrastructure to medical gas systems to specialized lighting.
Wow.
Yeah. And when you scale this concept up
Yeah.
to entire modular hospitals,
Yeah.
then we can be talking about
Everything.
everything from operating suites and ICUs to patient wards,
Yeah.
all built using this modular principle.
So it's a very different approach.
It's a fundamental shift in how healthcare facilities are developed.
Right. Instead of that lengthy on-site construction
Yeah, that traditional
process,
Yeah.
we're looking at something that prioritizes speed and efficiency.
And adaptability.
And adaptability, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the advantages.
Okay.
And, maybe one of the things that's always top of mind is cost.
Oh, yeah, especially these days.
Yeah, so from what we've gathered, modular operating theaters can offer significant savings
Oh, wow.
on upfront construction costs.
Yeah.
And this makes sense when you factor in the efficiencies of off-site fabrication,
Right.
which typically involves less on-site labor.
Right.
You have tighter control over material usage, so you're minimizing waste.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's not just the initial cost savings either, right?
No.
Our sources point to reduced long-term maintenance costs as well,
Yeah.
because they're designed for easy cleaning and sterilization.
They are. Yeah, they're using, certain material seamless designs, so
To minimize
minimize those.
areas where bacteria can accumulate.
Yeah, those little nooks and crannies that are hard to get to.
Exactly. And so the upkeep is much less expensive
Yeah.
than traditional operating theaters.
Yeah. And when you think about saving money on those upfront capital expenditures,
Right.
that frees up resources for investing in cutting-edge medical equipment
Or expanding service.
or expanding services in other areas of the hospital.
That's
So
right.
it's a strategic financial advantage.
It is.
Yeah. And in some cases, you might even find savings on land acquisition,
Oh, right.
because modular OTs can sometimes be integrated into existing hospital footprints.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you don't have to buy more land.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just kind of like slotting it in.
Right.
Yeah. Then there's this whole aspect of flexibility,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
which seems like a real game changer.
I think so.
Yeah. Because these modular designs can be highly customized
Right.
to meet the specific operational needs
Of a hospital.
of hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
Accommodating different layouts and the integration of specialized medical equipment.
Right. And it's not just about the initial setup, right? This is a key advantage. One of the key advantages.
Yeah.
It's the portability of these units.
Right.
So imagine if a hospital needs to relocate
Yeah.
or expand their surgical capabilities.
Right.
These modular OTs
Yeah.
can be disassembled and moved,
Wow.
providing a level of flexibility
That you just don't get.
that's simply not achievable
with traditional construction.
And then there's the faster installation times.
That's right.
Because you're constructing the modules off-site
Right.
while the site is being prepared.
Yeah. Right.
So it drastically reduces on-site construction downtime.
Yeah, so you're up and running much sooner.
Right.
Now, a thought that might cross people's minds is,
What?
well, does this faster and potentially cheaper construction mean a compromise on quality?
That's a good question.
And interestingly, the information we've gathered suggests quite the opposite, especially when it comes to air quality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So modular OTs often incorporate advanced ventilation and filtration systems, which are absolutely crucial for maintaining that sterile environment.
Of course.
Right. And that has a direct and positive impact on patient healing and really reduces the risk of infection.
Right. So it's a cleaner environment and a safer environment for patients.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not just about the air. The sources also point to the benefit of reduced noise pollution.
Interesting.
Within modular OTs.
Yeah.
Which can create a much calmer, less stressful environment for both patients and the staff.
Yeah. I can see how that would be important.
And especially in sensitive areas like pediatric surgery.
Oh, yeah.
Where the kids are already scared.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to minimize the stress.
Yeah, keep things as calm as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's important to note that these modular units are engineered to meet the same rigorous safety standards as conventionally built operating theaters. Including essential features like fire suppression systems and backup power supplies.
Very important.
Yeah. You don't want to be
in the middle of surgery.
Yeah, middle of surgery and the lights go out.
Right, exactly.
So time seems to be a real significant advantage here.
Yes, it does.
The reduced construction time that we talked about. That isn't just about convenience for the hospital administrators.
Right.
It directly translates to faster access
for patients.
To critical surgical facilities.
Right.
And that can have a profound impact on patient outcomes.
Absolutely.
Just by reducing waiting time.
For essential procedures.
Yeah.
And I imagine the simplified maintenance and cleaning processes also contribute to less downtime.
Less overall downtime,
Compared to traditional OTs.
It's
really about improving the entire surgical experience, isn't it?
It is, yeah. When you look at the big picture, the convenience and the potential for improved patient outcomes really come into focus.
They do.
And, the design of modular OTs often prioritizes the patient experience before, during, and after surgery, which I think can contribute to a more positive overall journey.
And potentially faster recovery.
Yeah, and we're seeing mentions of enhanced safety protocols, reduced risk of accidents.
During surgical procedures.
Yeah, during surgical procedures.
Very important.
Yeah, and then you get into the actual operational aspects.
Yeah.
The sources suggest increased efficiency in surgical procedures.
Wow.
Which could potentially reduce the time needed for each operation.
Okay.
Which could have a cascading effect.
How so?
Allowing hospitals to treat a greater number of patients within the same time frame.
Because the operations are shorter.
Exactly, yeah. And a less demanding environment for the surgical team can lead to improved focus.
Yeah, and, enhanced communication and smoother workflow amongst team members.
Yeah, better communication, smoother workflow.
Yeah,
all those things are cited as advantages.
It's about creating a more streamlined and effective surgical setting.
Exactly. And,
I mean, even seemingly small details.
Yeah.
Like better utilization of space.
Yeah.
Improved access to equipment.
Right.
Fewer distractions.
Yeah.
Enhanced patient privacy.
Right.
Optimized lighting conditions.
All of those things
contribute to a more streamlined and effective surgical setting.
Yeah, and some of these modular OTs even have built-in X-ray and imaging facilities.
Wow.
So they can do analysis right there during the operation.
So you don't have to wait.
You don't have to wait. Yeah, and it fosters better collaboration among the medical team.
Right.
And it can even lead to cost savings.
How's it? Oh.
Because it allows for a wider range of procedures to be performed in a single space.
Oh, interesting.
So they don't have to move the patient from one room to another.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive.
It's a pretty comprehensive list of benefits.
Yeah. Potential benefits.
And it's interesting to note some of the specific components that are often included.
Oh, like what?
Modular pendants.
Right.
Specialized wall and ceiling panels.
Designed for hygiene.
Designed for hygiene.
Yeah.
Those laminar airflow systems.
Right.
And even those integrated control panels that provide real-time vital information.
Oh, yeah. Stopwatches, pressure monitors.
Yeah.
all those things are essential for the smooth execution
of surgical procedure.
For surgical procedure, yeah.
And I think it's also worth mentioning that in India, these modular OTs are designed to comply with the standards set by NABH.
Yeah, NABH.
Which is the National Accreditation Board for Hospitals and Healthcare Providers.
Right, yeah.
So they're ensuring adherence to recognized quality benchmarks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
of course, we also have to take a balanced view.
We do.
And consider the challenges.
And the disadvantages associated with modular operating theater.
Right, because nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect, no.
So let's delve into some of the potential downsides.
Yeah, let's talk about the downside.
Okay.
Logistic challenges seem to be a big one.
Oh, yeah.
The transportation of these prefabricated units. Especially over long distances.
Yeah.
Or across difficult terrain.
Right.
Could be very complex.
It can be. Yeah.
And, it's not just about getting the physical module to the site.
Right.
Site preparation is another crucial aspect.
Yes, very important.
Excavation leveling, connecting utilities, laying the foundations.
All of that can be costly. Time-consuming.
And time-consuming.
And in some cases, it might even require temporary shutdown
of existing surgical facilities.
Yeah, so it's something to really plan for.
It is.
Yeah. Design limitations.
Okay.
While the ability to customize is often highlighted as a benefit,
right,
there might still be inherent restrictions on the overall architectural design.
Compared to
a completely bespoke, traditionally built operating theater.
Right.
And, the possibility of adding further amenities or making significant modifications.
After the initial construction.
After construction could be more challenging.
It could be.
Yeah, and aesthetic preferences might not always be fully achievable.
With a modular approach.
Yeah, with a modular approach.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's this issue of potential variability in quality control.
Right.
Because the fabrication takes place off-site.
In a factory setting, you're really relying...
Yeah, you're relying on the quality standards of that manufacturer.
Absolutely.
And the quality of the materials used and the workmanship during the off-site construction and during the on-site assembly can be challenging.
It can.
Yeah, and then ensuring compliance with all the safety and regulatory requirements can be complex.
It can.
Yeah, so there are definitely quality control aspects to be very aware of.
There are.
Yeah. And then finally, just the issue of limited availability in certain areas.
Oh, right.
And the fact that they can still be a substantial financial investment.
Right.
Especially for hospitals with limited budgets, are disadvantages to keep in mind.
They are.
So modular isn't necessarily the solution for every healthcare facility.
Right. It requires a thorough evaluation of a hospital's specific needs and its location.
And the resources.
And the available resources.
Okay, so we've talked about modular operating theaters.
Right.
Now let's broaden the scope.
Okay.
And talk about entire modular hospitals.
Modular hospitals, wow.
Because when we do that, we start to see an even wider array of applications.
Okay.
And a whole new set of compelling benefits.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the flexibility we talked about with modular OTs really amplifies.
And when you consider
entire hospitals, imagine the ability to reconfigure a complete healthcare facility.
Wow.
In response to evolving needs.
Like what kind of needs?
A hospital might need to adapt its focus.
Okay.
Maybe transition from a general hospital configuration to one with a greater number of operating theaters or a specialized focus on cardiology.
Right.
And the speed and adaptability demonstrated during public health crises, like the construction of those two hospitals.
In
Wuhan, yeah.
Yeah.
The Huashinshan and the Laishanshan hospitals during COVID provide a powerful real-world example.
They do.
To this capability.
They really were incredible case studies.
They were.
Those Wuhan hospitals.
Yeah.
Their swift construction.
Yeah.
In response to COVID.
Yeah, it was an emergency situation.
Yeah, it was an emergency.
They needed those facilities fast.
You did.
Yeah.
And it really underscored the speed at which you can establish large-scale medical facilities.
Yeah.
Using modular construction techniques.
That's amazing.
Huashinshan was reportedly completed in 10 days?
10 days, 1,000-bed hospital.
1,000 beds in 10
days. Unbelievable.
It's mind-boggling.
And then Laishanshan, even larger, with 1,600 beds.
Yeah.
was operational just 12 days.
12 days.
After construction began.
Yeah, and they played a vital role.
They did.
In managing the pandemic in Wuhan.
And they remain on standby. Yeah, a testament to their rapid deployability.
Yeah, and it's not just about setting up temporary structures.
Yeah.
These were fully functional hospitals.
Right.
And they were built with incredible speed.
Right.
And that's a critical advantage.
During emergencies?
During emergencies, yeah, where every single day matters.
Absolutely.
And studies actually suggest that these modular construction projects can accelerate overall construction timelines by as much as 50%.
Wow, 50%.
Compared to traditional methods.
That's huge.
It's a big difference, yeah.
And so this accelerated timeline often translates into cost effectiveness.
Cost effectiveness.
Our sources indicate potential cost reductions of up to 20%.
Wow, that's significant compared to traditionally built hospitals.
Right, and those savings stem from a combination of factors.
Like
faster construction pace, more efficient use of materials, potentially lower labor costs, because you're doing less work on site.
And there was an example of modular hospital construction in New York that was significantly less expensive per square foot
than traditional construction. Yeah.
So it really underscores
It does.
the potential for financial benefits.
It does, yeah.
But it's not just speed and cost.
No.
Modular hospitals also seem to offer some sustainability benefits.
Yeah, we're seeing data suggesting
potential reductions.
Yeah, reductions in energy consumption up to 50%.
Wow.
And a decrease in material waste exceeding 90%.
That's amazing.
When compared to conventional building practices.
Yeah, the off-site fabrication process, which is conducted in controlled environments, also contributes to less dust and moisture during construction.
So a healthier indoor environment.
Right. For patients and staff.
Yeah.
And that controlled factory setting also plays a role in ensuring better quality control.
Yeah, because you're manufacturing modules in a standardized environment.
Yeah.
You have more opportunity for rigorous quality checks,
right,
which can lead to higher construction quality.
And fewer defects.
Yeah, fewer defects. And then there's also the safety aspect.
Oh, yeah.
That controlled factory environment is much safer than a traditional construction site.
Where there are often a lot of accidents and injuries.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a safer work environment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing the range of applications for modular construction.
It is.
Beyond just operating theaters.
Yeah. Give me some examples.
Patient bathrooms designed for accessibility and hygiene.
Okay.
Examination rooms.
Right.
Isolation units.
Yeah.
Intensive care units.
Wow.
Diagnostic centers.
Yeah.
Long-term care facilities.
Right.
And of course, as we've said, entire hospitals can be constructed using this method.
They even use modular construction for those alternate care facilities in India during COVID.
Right, yeah.
Which really illustrates
its
versatility in responding to diverse healthcare needs.
Yeah, and the trends in the market reflect this growing adoption.
Right.
The global market for modular construction in healthcare is projected to reach $120.4 billion.
Wow. By when?
By 2027.
That's a huge market.
It is, yeah. And the hospital segment represents the largest share of that market.
Okay.
And a lot of that growth is going to be driven by
emerging economies.
Yeah, those rapidly developing economies like India and China.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not just market analysis.
No.
We're also seeing experts echoing the advantages of modular healthcare.
Right.
Dr. Ko Hatek from Jiahui Health emphasized the flexibility, the speed of deployment, and cost effectiveness.
Right.
And he even suggested that modular hospitals could become a mainstream approach in the future.
He did, yeah. And architects and other industry experts seem to be in agreement.
Yeah. What are they saying?
They're highlighting the faster construction times, the potential for cost savings, the enhanced environmental sustainability, the better quality control, and the adaptability.
And Revadeep Singh from Creative Designer Architects.
Yeah.
He specifically highlighted the rapid deployment.
During the pandemic,
of these facilities.
Right.
And their potential for saving costs and time.
Yeah, particularly in the Indian context.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
It is, yeah.
See how this is playing out.
It is.
Yeah.
Of course, even with these broader applications and benefits, some of those earlier considerations we discussed
about
modular operating theaters still hold true.
Like what?
logistical complexities, site preparation, design limitations, the need for rigorous quality control, and the fact that availability and cost can still vary.
They can.
Yeah, those are all things to keep in mind.
Right, and there are some ongoing developments and discussions about future trends in this field. Well, we're likely to see more hybrid models, combining traditional and modular elements.
Interesting. So kind of a best of both worlds approach.
Right, leveraging the strengths of both.
Yeah.
And there's an increasing focus on environmental sustainability.
Of course.
Using eco-friendly materials and technological advancements like BIM.
Yeah, building information modeling, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Essentially a digital approach to managing construction projects.
Yeah.
And even 3D printing.
Wow.
Are expected to further enhance the efficiency and precision
of modular healthcare construction.
From modular healthcare construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've already noted the growing demand in emerging economies, which is going to be a significant driver
of growth.
But, you know, it's also important to acknowledge the need for skilled labor.
Oh, yeah.
In modular construction.
Yeah, you need people who know how to do this.
You need people who know how to do this.
Right.
And in some cases, the lead times for materials might be longer compared to conventional methods. And the suitability of fully modular buildings for very high-rise construction might still present some limitations.
So there are still some challenges.
There are, yeah. But as we bring this deep dive to a close, you know, it's clear that modular operating theaters and entire modular hospitals offer some really compelling advantages.
They do.
Lower costs, faster construction, enhanced flexibility, improved quality, especially in the face of rapidly evolving healthcare demands and emergency situations. But we also have to acknowledge the potential logistical challenges.
Of course.
The design constraints. The need for stringent quality control. And the fact that availability and costs can vary.
They can.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
About how this could reshape the future of healthcare infrastructure.
Yeah. What aspects of modular healthcare resonate most with you? What further questions do you have about how it might be implemented?
Or what the long-term implications could be.
Yeah, how could this change things? How could this lead to greater preparedness, increased accessibility to care, you know, enhanced efficiency in the delivery of medical services?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so much to think about.
So much to think about.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found this exploration insightful.
I hope so.
And that you have a clearer understanding of the exciting possibilities
and challenges
and the important considerations surrounding modular healthcare facilities.
Modular healthcare, yeah. The future is modular.
It might be. It just might be.